So who has religious trauma they want to talk about? You know, Brandon, I'm sure you probably have a bit of it, but I don't want to put you on the spot.
Are we taking volunteers from the audience? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. So, but if the audience doesn't pipe up, then I'm going to start talking about my fucked up religious trauma. And my fucked up religious trauma is not fun. Like, in a very bad way. So, audience, ask a question about why religion has fucked you up, and we will help you pick it apart. I want to hear what that one has to say.
Which one?
That one.
Which?
Oh
yeah, because you for me, you're up there, and it's like all backwards.
Yeah, I've got to bring up my computer. Okay, so Miranda's over here, I think. Wait, let me see. Miranda's over here. Miranda's on my right, so the opposite way I'm pointing, and then Brandon is on my left, the opposite way I'm moving my other hand.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so all right. Well, anyway,
yeah, whatever.
Okay, so
doesn't matter.
Yeah, maybe pointing's not that effective.
I know. That's my point. So Eileen says, "I have both UU social justice. Are you good enough with social justice work versus sin guilt from Catholic upbringing?" Eileen, pick one of them, and we'll go with it. And I promise you, it'll go okay. It'll go okay. Oh, Eileen's thinking. I love it when Eileen thinks.
Who did that? Somebody. Oh, that was on the Muppets. The Muppets Take Manhattan, I think it was, where all the frogs that Kermit worked with. They're like, maybe just me.
I'm not weird enough, or I'm too weird for UUs.
For UUs.
Not weird enough, or too weird.
Why don't you feel like you fit in with universalists? My perspective, universalists are a far embracing religious community with no immediate directive. That's the nature of being an Emersonian universalist.
But some UU communities can be dogmatic about that itself. So if you bring any of your past conservative Christian association or anything like that, then it's like, oh no, you haven't been purified.
Yeah, I think the universalist approach to the suppression of dogmatic belief causes congregants who attend universalist churches to sort of sanitize their belief system for the body of the community in the universalist church. I attended a universalist church for a while. Don't harsh my vibe. But don't throw baby Jesus out with the bathwater. You know, here's the thing, Eileen. That works out an entirely different paradigm of discussion, where if you're migrating between belief communities. And yeah, universalist congregations are very activist and community based. Why do you feel like you're burning out?
Yeah, Craig, go back and hit it.
You can't lift your trauma, Craig? That's a problem.
Yeah, it's
Must
not
be a lot of it. Very heavy.
to Eileen's point. Like sometimes, when activism is kind of the main purpose of the community, there's a lot of pressure to perform. And if you aren't performing activism, then they'll leave you behind.
Well, as Eileen said, it's so much social justice work and no changes. Here's the thing, and I've said this. What you have control over is parochial. It's in your immediate locality. And yes, activism can change things, but it takes a larger body of people to accomplish that. Oh no, Edward, your trauma shouldn't stay buried. Because if you have trauma, you're carrying it around with you. You're talking about a person that carried around that trauma for 38 years. And I had reached a point where I was ready to jump off of a bridge. Like I picked the bridge out, I picked the time to jump off the bridge. I would drive by the bridge. I was ready to check out. And that's all because of my trauma. And so saying I've buried the trauma and I don't want to bring it up and I don't want to talk about it, that's not, because it does affect you and you are carrying it with you. I mean, you guys agree with me? Yes.
Yeah, it will come out in one way or another. Eileen, are you possibly bringing that guilt from the Catholicism into the UU church? And maybe it's more your own guilt rather than feeling pressure from the church for activism?
Ooh, that's a very good question.
Emerges, yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, here's the thing. What is the Catholic guilt for being sexual? I mean,
For being asexual?
yeah, what is that?
Well, I
I,
mean, the Catholics don't, they're kind of traditionally, at least, they um, promote populating the earth, and they don't
breed me
like
more
the,
followers, breed me more followers, breed me more followers.
yeah, they don't want no birth control, that kind of thing, so asexual would be kind of against their overall ideal of um, being fruitful and populating the earth.
Yeah, but there's
So I could understand that.
Catholics don't attribute any pleasure aspect to it, do they? Surely they don't.
No, but I mean, if you're asexual, you're probably not. Well, I don't know. I mean, I can't say I'm not.
So she said asexual being, not asexual.
Oh, I was thinking asexual as in. Okay.
Okay.
I misread that.
Okay.
I mean, they
Asexual
do have
being. Oh, yeah.
they do have
Okay.
trouble with asexuals too.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
because then you're not doing your duty.
I mean, if we're just talking about the Catholic Church and its view on the concept of having a sexual relationship with somebody, then yeah, that's traumatic as fuck.
A sexual being. Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know, in a lot of religions, probably Catholicism included, sex isn't for pleasure. There might be pleasure involved, but it's not meant for pleasure. It's meant for procreating.
Yeah, and if there is pleasure involved, it's just for one party.
So, just purely from a biblical perspective and the early church perspective, the early church asserted that the entire reason that sexual relationships exist, there's two reasons. It's unitive, so to signify the bond between spouses, and procreative. And that dichotomy is entirely against the narrative that sex should ever be pleasurable in any capacity. And so the early church affirmed that sexual pleasure within marriage was okay, but having a sexual relationship outside of being married was completely sinful and wrong. Just don't do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I come from an evangelical background where sex and marriage is a duty a wife owes her husband.
Yeah, same here.
Because he's allowed to experience pleasure, and she owes that to him.
Well, so they ascribe that the woman owes that to the male.
Yeah, and if the man ever cheats, then it's her fault for not being available enough to him.
Did you experience that, Brandon? Were you actually like expected to procreate and have kids at any point?
Yeah, but not on the same level as the Catholic Church. Like, I was in environments where birth control was basically okay, but you needed to at least have a couple of good Christian children.
Brandon, you were going to say.
Oh, yeah. I thought you. Yeah.
I was actually asking you that question.
Oh, no. That's all right. I thought maybe I misheard, and well,
No,
Brandon sounds similar. So
no.
Yeah, it's. I mean, obviously, in the Pentecostal religion, especially, it was more about the man being the head of a household, and the woman, bows to the man basically. And I don't know about the actual the sexual pleasure part. We didn't talk about sex in in the Pentecostal church. I mean, except to say that adultery was wrong and that kind of thing. But
yeah,
sex,
but
and
were you actively pushed to find a woman and have kids?
by my family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. You need to find a nice girl. I mean, I can find a nice girl, but it's not going to help anything.
No, look, I get it. Zoe used to tell me the same thing. Although Zoe was much less religious than just controlling and manipulative. And so from her perspective, her kids doing whatever the fuck it was that she expected them to do is how it played out. She did hate the whole druid thing though, and so whether that was from her childhood or not, it was. But anyway, so yeah, I just sort of your landlord should subscribe to all of our work. But I would like again, like so you were like guided in that direction, Brandon. You never went that way, but you were guided in that direction.
Yeah. I tried to. Well, in a way, I mean, I tried to a certain point, but yeah, I was definitely it was definitely expected for me to find a woman and get married and have kids. I don't know about the kid part. That wasn't so much pushed, but definitely getting married. I guess they assumed that if I got married, I would naturally have kids because that's the way it was.
Yeah, it's kind of a package deal.
Yeah, right. So I don't think they needed to, at least in their mind, they didn't need to push or to advocate for having children, because that was just, that would happen. But yeah, the marriage, finding a wife definitely was encouraged.
Well, here's my understanding of Pentecostal belief systems. You can correct me if I'm wrong, because my dogmatic understanding of definitive evangelical and non-standard, and I consider Pentecostals to be non-standard because there aren't a large body of people who are Pentecostal, and so there's the whole speaking in tongues thing, divine healing, prophecy, and miraculous signs. I'm going to ask, did you experience all of those?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, right.
Yes.
And then the thing about dress and hair has always befuddled me, and I don't understand it. So women wear dresses at ankle length, can't show any legs. You never cut your hair if you're a woman.
Well, so of course there are, like, within any religion, there are more conservative. Yeah. There is a kind of a spectrum, and as far as the hair cutting, that wasn't something that our church really emphasized. It was, I mean, most women did have longer, at least shoulder length hair, but
Yeah.
they weren't prohibited from cutting their hair. The dress thing, most of them did wear dresses that were at least below the knee. I don't know if it was like a kind of not really a rule that they had to be a certain length or down to the ankle or anything like that, but there were most of the women in the church, they all wore dresses to church. That was like, if you went to church with shorts or pants on,
no,
that wasn't.
Dad, don't do
No,
that.
no. Now, a lot of my family, they did wear pants outside of church. My mom, she wore shorts when she was mowing the yard and things like that, and she wore pants and stuff
Right.
like that. And my grandma would wear pants at home and stuff, but when she went to church, it was always skirts, always dresses, But there were other extended members of my family who, the women, the girls, always wore dresses at home, in all facets of life. Doesn't matter what it was. Even when they went swimming in the pond or whatever, they would have some kind of dress that they would wear, and they were a little more, and they didn't own a TV, and they weren't, to the point of no electricity. They weren't on the Amish level, but they were a lot more conservative than my family was. And I don't know why that was exactly how, like, my grandparents, they were in in the Pentecostal church, but my grandma wasn't. She didn't convert to that until she was older, so she probably kind of still held on to some of that, the secular ideal I don't know. That's my guess why she didn't just go completely, on the other side or whatever. But yeah, there was at least in the church, definitely dresses, longer hair. They weren't allowed to. They taught Sunday school. Women would teach Sunday school, but definitely never a female preacher, minister.
No.
That would be no.
Yeah.
And that's we went to a Methodist church for a little while because that's how my dad grew up. And we went there for several years, and with the Methodists, they assign ministers to their churches or whatever, So, and one minister left, and then a female minister came in, and our family left the church
because it was a female.
Yeah.
Well,
and it was a big deal to a lot of the people in the church. Even though it was a Methodist church, it was a very small rural church, and so they still had more conservative ideals. So they didn't really. I don't know why it was a Methodist church, because maybe they became more liberal as time went on. I don't know, but they didn't ascribe to all the
Methodists tend to be kind of a big tent denomination.
Yeah.
So they'll accept pretty conservative churches and more liberal churches.
Their lean the Methodist lean has only changed in the last 5 years. And the reason the reason for that is, like 4 or 5 years ago, the United States, the UMC of the U.S., issued a guidance where they said we're going to ordain queer individuals and we're going to perform queer ceremony.
Yeah.
And in Georgia, that happened, and there are 867 Methodist churches in the state of Georgia. Do not ask me why I know that detail. There's a reason why.
She's a treasure trove of facts.
And so 28 of the 867 Methodist churches in Georgia denied the guidance. And they went to the diocese and they said, we're not going to do this. You have to rerun the guidance and be led by God. And so the Georgia UMC went back through all the demographic data and everything else, and then came back to those 27, 28 Methodist churches a year later and said, okay, we redid everything. We're still doing this. And those 28 churches said, fuck you, we're not going to do it. And then the national organization said, fine, you're excommunicated. You can't be Methodist churches anymore. And you won't be supported by the organization. And so, yeah. But I have an even more interesting question, Brandon. I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Generation above you and your generation and generation above you, and then any above that. Tattoos or piercings?
Oh, no.
I knew it. No.
These no, actually, so yeah, my mom does not like tattoos, and
oh, I'm sure. Wait, do you have any?
I don't. I've thought about it for a long time, but
I don't. Okay.
For a long time,
Miranda has prettier tattoos than I do.
For a long time, I just didn't. There was no symbol or anything that I felt significantly enough about that I wanted to have it as a tattoo. I have been thinking more about it. Like in the last couple of years, I've been wanting to get one, but also they're so expensive. And
They
I'm
are
very
expensive.
I'm very pragmatic, and I like to save my money and stuff. So,
Brandon,
but
as
I
soon
do
as I
kind of
can
want one.
afford to do so, I'll fly.
They're expensive, but they do last a while.
Yeah,
Well,
as soon as I
I-
can, I will
yeah.
fly out to Kansas City and I will take you to a tattoo parlor and we can take care of it.
Oh well. I'm not opposed to getting one at all. But a few years ago, I didn't get my ears pierced till 2020 actually, and at the same time I dyed my hair purple. Because I thought I knew they weren't going to like the ear piercings, but they weren't going to like the hair either. So I thought one is going to distract from the other. I was like, well, might as well just do them both at the same time. But I was really surprised that the hair color garnered more attention than the ear piercings. And I think they saw it as the color, at least being purple. They saw it as an expression of my sexuality. I don't explain that. I don't know. But anyway, the ear piercings I think were a little more acceptable just because, well, everybody's got them now. Guys get their ears pierced all the time now. So I think it's kind of like, oh, it's kind of commonplace. So they they don't say anything about it. At first, it was like, oh, I need to get a pair of pliers and rip those out, or something like that. Just comments like that. But that didn't last very long, really. I think and the tattoos also. I mean, if anybody in the family had a tattoo, they would, they'd comment on it or whatever, negative, teasing. I guess I don't know if teasing is the right word, but kind of more like bullying. I think.
Yeah, like teasing tone, but definitely saying mean things.
Right. And my dad was an expert at that. All his life, I'm sure, but all the time that I was growing up, there was a lot of teasing, that was actually more bullying, harmful type of intent, I think. I mean, I don't know about the intent actually, but that was the result, at least. It was more harmful and hurtful than just mere joking and teasing. Anyway, tattoos, no, those aren't acceptable.
No, not acceptable.
That is I can't remember the verse, but there's they've always got verses to back up their
Oh yeah.
back up their reasoning. But something about
Yeah, I'm
permanent.
pretty sure that verse is in Leviticus, pretty close to the other verse that gets thrown at queer people a lot.
Wow, the body is a temple. So.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah,
share a religiously traumatic story, and you can both judge me for this. Brandon, this will be my religious trauma story where you asked me halfway through, Wendy, why the fuck did you not just leave? Because I have a few of those. So recently, I caught up with an old friend who was a Vineyard Church member. Do you know about do either of you know about the Vineyard churches? So that's John Wimber. John Wimber was the Signs and Wonders preacher from the 70s, big one. And Wagner, and like he came out of that crew. And so the thing that Wimber was known for was a guy named Lonnie Frisbee, who was the hippie Jesus from the 70s. If you don't know who Lonnie Frisbee is, Google his name and read about him. It's all true, and here's why. I have a connection there. His brother I worked with at IBM. So when I worked with his brother. His brother's name is Keith. I was like, "You're Lonnie's brother?" He's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "I've heard stories about him. Are they true?" And he's like, "Yes, they are. They're visibly true." And so, oh, Ellie, we need to have you in here like the next time that we do religious trauma talk because I want to hear that story. I definitely want to hear Mark Driscoll stories. so, so my friend, um, um, called me up. She was like, "We haven't seen you in a while. We'd like to see." Okay. And so here's the story. When she grew up, her parents were like the party animal type or whatever. Like they partied hard for like 3 or 4 or 5 years. And then they felt guilty about it. And Christian guilt set in. And so then they went on this long, arduous journey to find whatever faith it was that they could find themselves into. And the way my friend tells it is they're like, they got up to the Mennonite point, the Dick family from Letterkenny, basically. And she was like, "Yeah, we did that for like 6 months. And then after 6 months, like my mom said, I'm supposed to dress a certain way. And I hated it. And I had to eat dinner a certain way and all this other stuff. And I said, I'm not, I'm not doing this. I'm just not doing this." And so that girl has a shit ton of religious trauma. On top of the fact that that girl is also a person with spina bifida, which has a whole nother layer of trauma attached to it. So she calls me. She's like, "Well, meet for a meal or whatever. And then we're going to church. We'd like to take you to church." I'm like, "Okay, here we go." And so I agree. Sure, why not? Now, be aware, I trans woman. I put on my hairpiece. I did all my makeup. I mean, I dressed very my most conservative dress that I own, and like black heels, black a whole bit, and went with them. And so, um, walked in, and like here was the thing: like almost no people clocked me in that church. Like I was like spot on. I mean, I was dead spot on. You wouldn't have, and I was very thankful for that. Of course, later I found out that uh, they uh, they were told that I was not a normally gendered person, and there was a lot of like, "Don't let that Satan worshiper in here ever again." But anyway,
Oh, you came with a warning label.
yes. So I sat down. People were nice, and then people were talking, and then the service began. And when the service began, I started to notice something: people standing up and convulsing like an epileptic seizure. And my friend and her husband next to me, and I'm like, "Okay." I lean over. "Am I supposed to do anything here?" And she looks at me and says, "Oh, if you feel the power of Christ coming through you, you're supposed to react." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm not feeling the power of Christ compelling me." So at one point, the preacher reaches down behind the podium to grab something. And what does he pull out? A rattlesnake.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
And he's waving it and waving it and waving it. And I'm sitting there. I'm not moving. I'm literally like, I don't know what I'm watching. Why? That was the moment. Why have I not left the church yet? Like, why have I not left yet? I can't answer that question. I was so scared. And so one of the congregants who I was sitting in front in front of turned around. Aren't you feeling Christ channel through you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling the power of Christ channeling through me. And she's like, well, you're not moving like it. Are you really feeling it? Yes, I'm really feeling it. And then the preacher who's up on the podium, by the way. So here's the thing: the snake bit him.
Hmm.
That and then he had to be escorted. But before that happened, he's waving the snake around and shit, and then he starts speaking in complete nonsense because that was the next thing that I would have expected to hear.
Well, it sounds like for the next episode, we need to invite that rattlesnake
And so
for his religious trauma.
Right, yeah. So, like, the end of the service came, people walked out or whatever, and so, my friend was like, "So, are you gonna come back? Do you want to join the church?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll think about it for a while, maybe
From
a
a
little bit."
distance.
Aaron, it wouldn't have helped. It wouldn't have helped. Oh, but I will tell you a story where it did help. I will tell you another religious traumatic story where it did. Well, I don't know that it helped, but it certainly changed the nature of the situation. So yeah, so here's the thing: like, what do I do at this point? I'm asking you both. What do I do at this point? Like before we even leave the church. How the fuck do you walk out of that situation? Can you? I didn't think I could.
Just slowly back away.
Then you find that the ushers have locked the door.
Well, I turned around and looked, and the doors were definitely closed. And I'm not sure I wanted to risk that. So for the rest of that ceremony, I literally just closed my eyes and just tried to not focus on it. And then the girl was turning around. She's like, "Are you feeling Christ come through you yet?" "Yes, I'm feeling Christ coming through me now."
He's giving me so much peace. That's why I'm calm.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's healing me, and that's causing me not to move or convulse like I have epilepsy. Because I'm not making fun of people that have epilepsy by saying that. I'm merely saying I'm not moving like an epileptic.
Well, you could have started convulsing and rolled on the floor and just rolled all the way back to the back.
Okay, look, I have to say, I mean, heavy metal fan, so I thought about standing up and started doing this shit because I figured that would, but I didn't. So, that didn't work. So, but
Jump up and try to crowd surf or something.
Yeah, right. Let's get a mosh pit going. That's a great idea. No, that would be. But yeah, have either of you ever been in a proceeding like that before?
Not with a rattlesnake.
Not with
No. I mean, and like you were saying, the Pentecostal church, they speak in tongues and everything, and they, but no, there was no rattlesnake involved ever.
Well, you understand the snake thing is that serpents won't bite a true believer. A true believer won't die from ingesting poison. I want to remind everybody that Rasputin ingested poison and it never killed him. I'm pretty sure they didn't consider him a Christian by any remote nature or concept. But, I think that had more to do with the fact that he was a Mithridatic.
But it did bite him, and he did have to go to the hospital, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, like he did. The snake bit him, and he had to go to the hospital, and it didn't kill him. Although, interestingly enough, I think like a couple of years later, I read a story where another guy in Kansas or Omaha did the same thing, and the snake bit him, and then 2 days later he keeled over and died. I guess he wasn't a real believer.
He didn't
Yeah,
have enough
like-
faith.
Exactly. Whenever you ascribe faith to something like that, then anyone who does die, you can just write them off, and it doesn't hurt your faith at all. Like, oh, hasn't killed me.
Oh,
Yeah.
so the hands off.
I must be one of the good ones.
They didn't kill me. They killed him, though.
He must have done something bad.
Yeah, something very bad. So to Aaron's earlier statement, I should have spoken Hebrew. I did that one time. So very early in my college career, my friend Bubba, my friend Rami, and my friend Azaz, we were all in tech together. That was our Sunday hitch. We would go to random churches, dressed up as though we were not people of the church in any way. And uh, uh oh uh oh no, Ellie, I have to tell you, like, again, next week, or I might do another one. I don't know, we'll just see. I'll definitely read it, but Ellie, will you promise to come on the live, like, the next time we do Religious Trauma Live? Because I really want to hear what you have to say. I'll let you pick whichever of the two you want to talk to, Miranda or Brandon. You probably want to talk to that one, though. Well, anyway, so
Again, the pointing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Miranda, Brandon. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
it's not working that way for me.
That's not working that
It's the other way.
Okay. Miranda, Brandon. There you go. That works better. So that was like Ellie, I'll send you an invite for next Tuesday when we talk. So, right. So, holy shit. That was our Sunday gig. Well, that Sunday, my friend Bo was like, "Hey, Wendy, why don't you wear your Iron Maiden Number of the Beast t-shirt when we do this?" And I was like, okay. I mean, I feel like that is not a wise choice, but I don't know. I'm 21. I don't give a shit. Let's do it. And so then my friend Azaz, who was a Hindu, and he was a head wrapping, so he always wrapped his head. And thank you, Ellie, for coming. I can't wait. And so, um, and then Bubba was this huge black guy, and then Rami was like the jeans and t-shirt Cajun guy who didn't give a shit. So the church, I'll even tell you the church, uh, Northside First Baptist in Atlanta, which is on Howell Mill Road. I'll actually call it out. And so we walked in, we sat down, walked in, like the deacons who were standing up at the front, they kind of looked at us a little funny or whatever, but it was kind of like, okay, whatever. And we came in and we sat down, and two of the deacons were like as big as Bubba and I, because Bubba and I were about the same height. Bubba weighed about 150 pounds heavier than I did, and I was weighing in at about 260 at the time. So we noticed that, like, two of the church deacons were as big as us, and so we're sitting in there, and the service started, and people were looking, giving stares or whatever, but I wasn't paying attention. I didn't give a shit. And so the preacher starts, the benediction, and then they do the stupid creed thing, and then he starts the sermon. Halfway through the sermon, he grabs the microphone and he starts walking around, and he's like, "Children, do you believe in the power of God?" And he's proselytizing as he's walking around the church. And Uh, oh, yes. Yes, I agree with Miranda and Brandon's assertion. So that's completely true. Yeah, and to Aaron's point, yeah, it's beyond fucked up and damaging. It really is.
I like going with the unspoken request, so it can just be really vague.
Yeah, we had that a lot. Yes.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm struggling with something.
Yeah.
Really, that's a thing.
Oh yeah, that was pretty often. Somebody always had an unspoken request. Yeah, because it was probably, I don't know. I guess it was something personal or what. They didn't want people to be gossiping about because church members are going to gossip. So I guess they were aware enough to know that.
That's an awareness that I don't at all grasp. I don't think. So the preacher who is proselytizing in the church gets up to the back of the church and, like an idiot, like a total idiot, I was the one who was sitting closest to the exit of the pew. And he walks up right behind me and he says, "What do you think, my son?" And he slaps his hand right down on my shoulder. And time has suddenly stopped because I'm trying to think of what I can say that will make this situation interesting but tolerable at the same time. And so I don't know what I was thinking. I stood up and I looked at him and I said, "You're the devil!" And that was the wrong thing to say.
Oh.
Because then Bubba immediately jumps up and he starts pushing me out of the pew and pushing the pastor out of the pew like we're going to leave the church. And so then Ray's like, "Oh, fuck this shit." And he's like pushing the rest of us out of the church. And then the son's like, "You guys are going to get me killed." And so we walk out. Well, the two large church deacons or whatever, they're like following us out to Bubba's truck. My friend Bubba drove a Suburban. And we dive into the
Deacons
truck.
are the enforcers.
Yeah, and we dive into the truck, and he starts it up. Okay, I'm going to pull out in a second. Before he pulls out of the parking lot, which, by the way, I picked that church for a reason. That church is literally like on Howell Mill Road, and literally 80 feet away is the exit to a major interstate highway. Because I wanted us to be able to get the fuck out if it were possible to get the fuck out at whatever key moment or whatever. And so the two church deacons were outside of Bubba's truck on the driver's side, and they were screaming at him. And then more people walked out behind them and started to crowd around the truck and were proselytizing and saying some very mean, very biblical, very uncool things. And so eventually they all moved out of the way and we got out. But I was like, I'm not doing that with you guys anymore. This isn't fun anymore. I nearly got hit. I nearly got beat up. So yeah, when you
And what do you think they did after you left? After they went back into the church?
Yeah, I'm sure there had to be a few sermons about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the elders all met and said if we ever see that person or anybody like that person ever again, they will be asked to leave the church. I was a shit stirrer when I was younger.
And then they patted themselves on the back about how they had been persecuted by you
Yes,
and stood strong for their faith.
yes, which that's how welcoming a body of community can you be when you ostracize yourself by making assumptions about these things? It's crazy.
They exorcised a literal demon from their church.
Yes. My clinic defense groups picketed 2 churches in 2023 in protest of people on their staffs who regularly harass patients at Planned Parenthood. I'm not shocked by that, Elaine. I am not at all shocked by that. The abortion craze, you know, that's. I'm just gonna say there's biblical reasons for abortion. You want me to write an article about that? I will. Why Christians need to shut the fuck up about abortion because of all the babies that God killed, and God killed a lot of babies.
Oh yeah.
Dashed their heads upon the rocks, and there was gnashing of teeth, and all that shit. I don't understand I do understand it. The Christian attachment to being anti-abortion means you can't continue to breed followers. But I don't know. I mean, the way Gen Z is going, I mean, Miranda, do your kids want to go to church?
No.
My kids don't want to go to church. Um,
Like mine will go to their grandparents' church if we're visiting, but that's just a being respectful to the grandparents thing. And I don't even care if they do, because like I'm gonna sit that out because it's a church that preaches against my personhood. So
right.
I'm not gonna go sit in that.
Well, no, why would you? Why
Yeah.
would you? I imagine, Brandon, you pretty much feel the same way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't attend church right now. I wouldn't mind finding one that were, if it were a welcoming type of place. But there are a few around here. I don't know. I probably will eventually, maybe find one and check it out. But
Well,
most of them, yeah.
I Eileen beat me to the punch, but I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Here's the thing. Every time I've ever gone to church, and I'm a person who is, I'll tell you a Bible study story. You'll love this. This is trauma 101 right here. Um, so Gizmo's church, I attended for a period of time, and so, but whenever I've gone to a church, it's about the community of the church, not the dogma of the church. So when you participate in a church body, that community, feed the hungry, you know, the doing the food pantry bullshit, reaching out to people who that kind of shit. That's the reason to join a church, in my
Well,
opinion.
and that's kind of what I'm kind of looking for. I feel like I need to get out and be part of a a, a community IRL, rather than just a virtual community or whatever. But I think that would be nice. Meet new people, make some friends and stuff. I'll do that.
Yeah, to Eileen's point, if you found a universalist church, you wouldn't have to deal with dogma as that, because that could be additionally traumatic. I will tell you, the last time that I tried to participate in the dogma of a church, I went to Bible study at Gizmo's mom's insistence at the time, and I sat in Bible study with my Tanakh and my Greek interlinear in hand, and we're going to talk about Isaiah. And I went, oh, fuck, here we go. I know where this is going. And so he went into Isaiah's 13th and 14th. And so I cracked open my Tanakh, and the person sitting next to me was watching and looking over. And like, I had notes that were written in Hebrew, and I had Greek references or whatever in that book. And she looked over and she was like, can you read that? And I said, oh, yes, I'm fluent in both of those languages. And she said, you're fluent in Hebrew and Greek. And I said, yeah. And she said, oh, okay. Well, then he transposed the get yatzet from Isaiah's 14th, which is all about that's about godly transposition or whatever. And that his translation of the line in the text was wrong, and like a complete and total fucking idiot, I said, "You're mistaken." And he looked at me and said, "Why?" And so I jumped up and I said, "Get Yvetz, Bezeritz, Yamatz, Kasatz, Rotsatz." And he was like, how do you know that? And I said, oh, I have it written right here. And here, you can read my text. And he like flipped it open and he flipped through it a bunch and he flipped through it a bunch and then closed it and he handed it to me and he said, I want you to leave. And I said, why exactly? And he said, you know more than I do. And all you're going to do is challenge the things that I say. And that's not the intent here. And I said, oh, okay. So you want me to leave?
Well, what's the intent then?
Yeah, right.
We're not learning at Bible study?
No.
Right. And so I like went out to my car and the gizmo like walked out like they searched the church or whatever. Gizmo was like 7 or whatever. And Gizmo came out to my car and she knocks on the window. Mom, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, they kicked me out. Her mom looked at me and said, did they kick you out? Yeah, they did. Because you opened your mouth. Yes, I did. And her mom basically told me, stop doing that. And I'm like, okay, tell them to stop lying about it. And, I got the whole like interpretation discussion. No, Eileen, tangent, please. I only have so much religious trauma I can talk about up here. I totally want you to tangent. So, but yeah, I think we should. Allie, we need to have Allie on next time. Who wants to be the straight person?
Well, it can't be me.
Who wants to be Regis Philbin? Because I imagine that's gonna be a fun conversation. I get to be sealed in a metal tube for 2 flights, totaling 8 hours today. So trying to get ready for work at the same time. Yeah, I completely get that. Craig is accusing you of being straight, Brandon. I don't. Oh God, that reminds me of.
Oh no! The next thing we know, Craig's gonna find out I'm a trans woman.
That reminds me of the best gay story ever. Brandon, you want to hear the best gay story ever?
Well, I mean,
all right. So this one over here on the other side of my desk is going to know exactly. No, my
that way
over there.
Yes, my spousal person is going to know the story, and so here's how it is. So we worked together like 19 years ago, and we had a coworker named Dave. Dave was hugely gay. Like, if he wasn't gay, there aren't gay people. That's how gay he was. And so we came into work one day, and I had another coworker, and I'll just use the name Zachary. I don't think that was his name. I think it was Frank or something, but it was Zachary, because pseudonyms, right? Um, and so we came to work and we sat down and we were working, and Zach looked at me and said, "Where's Dave?" And I was like, "Oh, right. He's on vacation this week, probably down in Florida. He's got his legs wrapped around some dude and he's having a good time." And Zach looks at me and then looks at her and says, "Well, what are you saying?" And I'm like, Zach, Dave is gay. And so he looks at me and he says, "You shouldn't say that if you don't know if it's true or not." And I was like, "Are we talking about the same person?" And so, like, he's like, "Yeah, you shouldn't say that about people when you don't know. He might not be. Then it's going to suck for you." And I'm like, I don't know how to process this conversation. And so, like, the week is over, and then the next Monday comes around, and I went into work early that day because I knew he'd be there. Dave walks up, "Hey, sweetie, how's it going? Did you have a good week?" "I was away. I had fun. I want to talk all about it." So I told him, I said, "Dave, I need your assistance." He's like, "Oh gosh. Okay, what is it? What can I do?" And I'm like, "You have to talk to Zach." And he's like, "Why?" And I said, "Because Zach thinks you're not gay." And Dave he's like, "Oh my God, do I not appear gay enough?" And I'm like, "Oh no, you do." He doesn't get it. Like, it's over his head. And then previously I had figured out from Zachary that he had never met a gay person ever in his life. Like, ever.
Well,
Which,
I think that's part of the problem with my family. Like growing up, it's such a conservative, small community and everything. And although, I mean, there was TV, so you'd think that they would recognize the signs, but sorry, go ahead.
so Dave walks over to Zach. Like, Zach walks in and sits down, and Dave walks over to him. And he does the Z-shaped finger swipe, says some things to him that I have to date never known exactly what he said to him, and then walks out. And when he walked out, he pranced all the way out of the cubicle area. And then Zach walked over to me and went, "Oh my God, I think Dave's gay." And I'm like,
I think.
"Oh, sweetie, we need to have a little chat. We need to have a little chat." Wait, are people talking about lesbians in the chat? Do you want lesbian tunes? I mean, Indigo Girls, right?
Well, yeah, of course. But Craig said he's a clearinghouse of lesbian music, so if he knows some lesbians I don't.
The clearinghouse of lesbian music. I'm sorry if we're not talking about Tracy Chapman, Melissa Etheridge, the Indigo Girls, or Katie Lang, that I'm not sure I know what lesbian music is.
In the 90s, I had a friend who said, "Oh my gosh, you listen to so much lesbian music," and yeah, I guess that makes sense now.
Were you a Katie Lang fan? Did you listen to Tracy? Here's the thing. Anybody that listens to the Tracy Chapman song Fast Car, which is like, that's like that's her anthem. If anyone ever listens to that song and does not understand that that song is about a lesbian relationship, I'm sorry. we can't be friends. People are like, oh no, I had people tell me like, I love that song. It's about the most beautiful, sapphic relationship. I've had people look at me and go, you don't know that. I'm like, are we listening to the same song? Okay.
Yeah. Like the singer who dated Alice Walker? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. You sure about that? All right. Although I would say I wish that the gay male community. I don't know, Brandon. Here's the thing: are there gay male like singer songwriter types? I don't like inherently know of any.
You mean
Like guys that actually write like folky songs about other guys and shit.
oh,
Right.
I mean like today?
Like ever.
I
Right.
mean it can be in I don't know. I mean Sam Smith.
Oh, really? I think I have a record of his in my vinyl collection somewhere. I just admitted to having a vinyl collection. Now Craig's gonna have a shit. Now Craig's gonna yell at me. Oh, Elaine, the Pet Shop Boys. Yeah. Although they did sing a song about West End girls, and I'm just gonna tell you, if you've ever heard that song is not about. That song is about prostitutes. Because West End girls are red light district females. Just gonna burst that bubble for you. Okay.
Oh, I thought that was such a wholesome song.
Oh, come on. Come on. No. Okay. Well, we just reached over an hour. I want to thank you both for taking me down this journey today. So I'm going to invite Ellie for the next one.
And the rattlesnake.
Yeah, and the rattlesnake. I will check in with the both of you for that, and then I'll send one of you an invite. Do either of you have any?
And the other of us will be talking shit in the chat. So it's
Yeah,
okay.
right. Yeah. So if
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
you have to talk shit in the chat while we're talking about it, so that we can draw attention. So
Definitely.
okay. Do either of you have anything else? By the way, Brandon, you have to read my story, my bar story later. That one. Sorry, that one's gonna do it. Yeah, that one's gonna do it in a minute. It's because that one's my editor who makes sure I don't write shit that pisses people off viscerally. Did you know that? She's the
She
one.
doesn't do a very good job.
She wants to piss people off. So I just tell her, yeah, this will do it.
Don't you always piss people off?
Because I stay in a visceral state of unhappy. Visceral state of unhappy. Happiness?
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not telling you shouldn't.
Aaron, Elaine is a piece of shit as far as the chat is concerned. So, all right. Well, thank you both. Thank you everyone everyone that came. If you have
Thank
friends
you.
who have religious trauma, tell them to come find us. We will help them talk through it.
It was lovely. Miranda, it's nice to see you.
You too, Brandon.